7 a.m. It is now time for the morning watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, assessing Canada's response to the U.S. tariffs. And in the second watch, a review of the 52nd Carifta Track and Field Championships. For our social media question, we ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how proud are you of your country? State the country and your reason. We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
All right, good morning, good morning. Today's I quote says, people who think they know everything are a great annoyance to those of us who do. Yeah, and it's from Isaac Asimov.
Good morning, Jukal.
Good morning.
I guess the reality of that quote is that none of us knows everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
By the way, Jukal, I came in this morning and realized that the traffic was not as heavy as it normally is.
Yeah, school
is out?
Yeah, school is out.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think it's still out until about next week.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, those school days, eh?
Yeah. We'll put me back in school.
Yeah, the first watch will be back after this break.
I call you holy.
The Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, in association with Donnie McClurkin Ministries and Allow to Shine Ministries under the leadership of Nadine Blair, presents a Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship. The Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship will be held on Thursday, May 1, 5 p.m. for the Pastors Forum, 7 p.m. for the Evening of Worship, featuring Audience of One, the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God worship team, and Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Admission is free. Bring an offering. That's the Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship, presented by Donnie McClurkin. Don't miss this time of worship and fellowship. Thursday, May 1. See you there.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, Canada has taken a very serious approach to the U.S. 25% tariffs imposed on them. One city has begun the process of removing all American flags and sourcing local goods, services, and media offerings to reduce the reliance on U.S. goods. Is it overkill, national pride, or plain old revenge? Well, to answer such questions, we have online Danae Peart, a Canadian citizen. She is the executive director of Emory Killesdale Nurse Practitioner-led Clinic and the former CEO of Vibe 105 FM and VX3 Exchange host on Vibe 105 FM. Good morning to you, Danae Peart.
Good morning, Dr. Toussaint. Are you hearing me well?
I'm hearing you. And I think we also have online Jonathan Bagan, attorney at law in Trinidad and Tobago. He's also an author. Good morning to you, Jonathan Bagan.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Great. Good to have you with us. Now, I begin with you, uh, Denny Peart. You are a citizen of Canada. What more can you tell us about Canada's response so far to the recent increase in U.S. tariffs?
Um, well, I'd say that just for context, I'm also Jamaican born. I was
Right.
just in Jamaica, so if you hear me being hoarse, I caught something there. I got back
Mhm.
yesterday in
Mhm.
time to vote in the Canadian election. So I'll say that Canada, like many other countries, had a swift response. Matching the 25% for 25%. And for context as well, Canada and the US are very close trading partners. Not only are we border neighbors, but we're
Mhm.
close trading partners for years. And so to apply 25% tariffs on us, which is something that was tried before, we had to respond. It's not a question of if, it was when. And so things that we responded with are some things that might harm Canadians in the long run, but some things that we can fight through. So products that we can find alternatives for in Canada, they have been applied 25% tariffs. But then also products that are actively used in different industries are also impacted. So there's a 25% tariff on steel. There's a 25% tariff on goods and services that are usually going cross border multiple times. What is interesting to note is that Canada did not apply the tariffs to Mexican products that go across the border. And that was because the three countries actually had an agreement. The three
Mhm.
countries had a trade agreement that allowed for multiple goods to be passing cross borders and allowed for less tariffs. So, Canada obviously sees this as a betrayal of the relationship and had to respond.
Yeah. Wow. Jonathan Bagan, your views on the increase and the response of Canada so far?
Well, speaking from the Caribbean, I would say that Canada, being a large economy, has some capacity to respond with tariffs. They can build factories and source goods locally. But of course, in the Caribbean, we import most of our food and our manufactured goods from the United States and other countries. So I would say Canada is doing the right thing in the short term to show Trump that they cannot be bullied. But I'm not sure if the CARICOM nations can follow the example and play hardball.
So, okay, so you're basically in agreement with their response so far in total?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, but I do believe Trump will, by next year, when the midterm elections come around, back down, pretend the
Uh-huh.
economy is so great, and concede.
Is it an overreaction, you think, Jonathan Bagan?
I would say no. Trump is embracing what is called realism in international relations, trying to make friends and cooperate in international institutions is called liberalism. Of course, he hates anything to do with liberalism. So he's embracing real politic and realism, which is trying to maximize your power as much as possible at any cost, which might be the cost of the world economy. But when the midterm elections and of course the next presidential election comes around, the economy has to be stable and he has to behave himself. So I do believe this is a short term fight.
Has to behave himself. Then he appeared. What about the pros and the cons when you wait, though? The positives and the negatives. You want to share some of that as you would have thought through these responses?
So I'd say this much. Canada right now is going through a patriotic phase that I have not seen as an immigrant here for years. Where, the government has a campaign called Choose Canada. We're Canada Strong and so on. So in terms of positives, the reaction from the average Canadian is positive. Going into supermarkets and choosing, if you go in supermarkets now, people are
Mm,
choosing Canadian products, and the supermarkets are labeling this is made in Canada, this is produced in Canada, and people are choosing to purchase that way. Also, people have cut their border crossings. In February, there was 500,000 less persons crossing the border, and in March, there were 900,000 less persons crossing the border from Canada into the US. So it is going to have impact, and you can see the patriotism and loyalty from Canadians. So that's good. What I don't think people are discussing a lot of is the fallout from tariffs overall. So there's going to be a fallout on all sides of this. Any country that has put up these tariffs, including America, is going to feel it. There are going to be countries that depend on the trade that we do. There are going to be companies that depend on the products that we trade that are either going to go under, are go out of business, will lay off people, and that's going to happen on both sides of the conversation. And it's going to happen in the Caribbean as well, because there's such a dependency and a codependency on trade. So the fallout, I don't think a lot of people are contemplating it, because Trump was playing around with the tariffs. Like, this week he's off, this week he's on, and so on. So I don't think everybody has had a full grasp of how far can this go and how deep can this go. But if it keeps going far, I can tell you one of the fallouts in Canada, and we're already seeing the government prepare for it, is they are saying, okay, for EI, which is employment insurance, which in this case will be an unemployment insurance. If you lose your job, we're going to reduce the time that you have to wait for unemployment insurance. For the months from April to June, we're going to hold back on corporate tax returns, such as GST, or what you guys in Jamaica know as GCT, that kind of stuff, HST. They're going to hold back on remittances from corporate until June. These are things they're putting in place because they're anticipating companies going out of business. They're anticipating companies having challenges meeting payroll and so on. So that is the negative side of it that a lot of people have not really wrapped their head around. How long this goes has an impact on the common man.
Jonathan Bargan, your take on that? Pros and the cons of the responses so far from the Canadians?
Well, I would agree with Danae that there's going to be a lot of, well, it's mainly cons. There's going to be lots of businesses. The stock market is going to go down, and trade will be reduced in the interim. Investors will be hesitant because every 2 weeks Trump is changing his policy, or at least pulling back his tariff. So an investor who says, okay, I need to invest in a factory and for 5 years and put $2 billion into it, is not going to want to invest. So it will have wide-ranging impacts on Canada and of course the entire world. And as I said in a previous interview here, Trump's plan seems to be, I'm going to blow up the world economy to hurt China, and we have to be realistic about that.
And he can't beat China. That's the funny part.
Why is it that?
You cannot beat China. First of all, America only accounts for 15% of the market that China trades with. And China has been coming back strong in response to these tariffs. They literally don't care, because they know that they have the rest of the world. Most of the products on shelves. I mean, as I said, I was just in Jamaica. I go and I'm looking for souvenirs to take back for my staff. And what did I see? Made in China. The whole world is dependent on products from China. Trump cannot beat China. Not only that, China has 1 billion people. So if you think you're going to isolate them, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. We are up on a break, and then in the second half of this first watch, we'll dive more into this topic. Soon come back.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Every day, we use our feet to walk, run, and take us to amazing places. But your feet can do something even more amazing. A simple step can change a life. Join Guardian Group's Shine 5K Night Run, formerly the Keep It Alive 5K, and make us try to support the Noel Holmes Hospital, the Bustamante Hospital for Children, and Project Star. Saturday, May 10 in Kingston and Saturday, May 24 in Montego Bay. New name, but same epic vibe. Register today at run2shineja.com or runningeventsja.com and see you at Shine 2025.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled two dreams with one Jane Bank savings plan, I further my education and I make mama proud.
Save so you can make the par, travel par, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And this is the first watch. We are assessing Canada's response to the U.S. tariffs. And in so doing, we have online Jonathan Bagan, attorney at law in Trinidad and Tobago, and Danae Peart. She's a Canadian citizen, born in Jamaica, and the director of Emory, Killisdale Nurse Practitioner led clinic. All right. In the first watch, we were focusing somewhat on what the Canadians have done and are doing so far. Now we look on the impact perhaps on the Caribbean and the rest of the world. I throw the question first to you, Jonathan Bagan. How will the Canadian response affect positively or negatively the Caribbean and the rest of the world, do you think?
Well, that is a complicated question, but as Canada buys less US products, we may see either a drop in the price of some of the US products due to slower demand, but simultaneously, we are also facing tariffs. We are also facing a slowing US economy, a slowing world economy. So I would say overall, we expect negative economic impacts. I did have a discussion that a friend of mine, so in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a US dollar shortage because our currency is at a peg, and the government, we're running out of oil. So the government takes whatever oil money they make and gives the banks US dollars at 6.8 to 1. And that has, so as we run out of oil, that is hard to maintain. We don't float our currency like Jamaica. But if the US dollar devalues, we may have a little bit more access to US dollars. But so it may be slightly positive in Trinidad's case, or we're not certain yet. But I would say this is a Christian radio station. We have to pray for Trump to come to his senses and not try to blow up the world economy.
You mentioned running out of oil. I didn't know that. How bad is it?
We've had declining oil and gas output for several years, and there was a recent issue where we had an arrangement under the Biden administration. We got a license to drill some of Venezuela's gas. It's called the Dragon Gas deal, and the license was scrapped recently, and the current prime minister is trying to restart it. So we have enough gas to put gas in our cars and to run our power plants and export some. But our GDP did drop, and we there's a talk in Trinidad to move more to tourism like Jamaica and agriculture. But Trinidadians haven't done agriculture on a mass scale since the 60s or 50s, so it's a hard move.
Interesting. Then it appeared the impact on the Caribbean and the rest of the world with the responses so far of the Canadians.
So I would say there's a positive to look for. With Canadians changing their travel patterns, I would say the Caribbean in general, of course, Jamaica, because I'm biased, needs to step up to the plate and promote themselves for receiving tourists, because Canadians are looking for other options since they're not going across the border anymore. And it's not like en masse, it's only about 15% drop in border crossing, but you can benefit from having an additional 1 million people
Mm-hmm.
coming into the Caribbean during this time. And as we go into summer and so on, I expect that Jamaicans could, monopolize on this, put out some promotion. Trinidad, I understand the situation. It's harder to ramp up because Trinidad has, kind of a seasonal approach. You're coming for carnival and so on, but there hasn't really been a big tourism push. But there are other islands in play that can make a big tourism push, put out events and so on, try to attract those who are not just from Canada, other countries that are avoiding the US. Because one of the fallouts from Trump in general is not just tariffs, is these immigration moves that he's also made, making it uncomfortable to
Mm-hmm.
travel to the US in general.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a benefit for the Caribbean. In terms of the fallout, Jonathan is actually, on point. We're gonna feel it more in the Caribbean than anywhere else. Them always say,
Oh.
them sneeze, we get cold.
Uh-huh.
That is for sure the fallout is coming because not only are there tariffs put on the Caribbean, which is silly, but there are tariffs put on Caribbean countries, but also there's such a dependency on products because the Caribbean is a recipient of products more so than a sender, more so than an exporter. So that is a big challenge for the Caribbean to conquer. And just as I was saying in Canada, when job losses come, there are going to be job losses in the Caribbean because there are companies that do a lot of imports. And if they can't afford the imports, they're going to reduce their production, they're going to reduce their sales, they're going to reduce their staffing. So he's right on. There is going to be a fallout, and the CARICOM is definitely going to feel it more the longer this continues.
Doesn't sound so rosy at all. Jonathan Bargan, what is Trinidad doing now that you can tell us in response to what is happening with these tariffs? And what are the lessons that can be learned from this in the entire Caribbean?
Well, we are doing an election in the 28th to decide who the government will be, and the government has we do not have a U.S. ambassador in Trinidad at the moment, so they normally come in the September of the election year. So
Mhm.
um, we are engaging with the U.S. government to ask them to please not harm our trade, but our Trinidad is more of an exporter of the energy, but we do have a manufacturing sector. We do make certain products we see on the shelves in Jamaica. So we're hoping that the manufacturing sector, okay, if Canada now has to manufacture more, then we in Trinidad can manufacture more for the region.
Mhm.
Now, manufacturers have said that the manufacturing and not the energies may be the salvation of our economy. But yeah, pray for Trinidad's election. It's pretty hot. We'll see what
Oh,
happens.
but I'm hearing Dene Peart saying that the Caribbean needs to promote itself more in receiving the tourists. The fall off from the tourism sector toward the US. How is Trinidad going to address that?
Well, as I said, we have to wait for our new government to put out a sound tourism policy. We've had a very, as you know, Trinidad's crime rate has almost matched Jamaica's in recent years, and
Yeah.
we had an assassination outside our airport. So
Mm.
until we can get our crime situation under control, we can't exactly come to the airport that just had a guy shot with a AK. Well, it was like a high power rifle as soon as he
Wow.
left the building. Yeah, so we need to get things together first, and we just came out of state of emergency. So Tobago is our sister isle and it's fairly safe by comparison. So I think we have built a new airport in Tobago, a proper international airport. So hopefully um an airport nobody was shot in. So hopefully they will receive more. Has there ever been a shooting in the Jamaica's airports? Right on the compound.
Not in recent times, I
No,
can't think of.
no,
They all doing better than us, including from Jamaica.
Yeah.
yeah. I
But
think
but
Jamaica is fairly
sorry,
insulated.
go ahead, Dene, if you wanted to come in.
Sorry, I think Jamaica is fairly insulated in terms of tourism protections. We tend to be safe for tourists. We have very few incidences that involve tourists. Of course, Jamaica is slick by not counting returning residents that are in incidences. But fresh tourists coming from foreign tend to be safer in Jamaica there's just an unwritten rule. Wouldn't you agree, Dr. Toussaint, that
Yeah,
we
man. Yeah. You had mentioned about patriotism earlier, Dene Peart.
Mhm.
And you seem to still have contact with Jamaicans on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Um, what can Jamaica learn from this in that regard? The Canadians now, you're saying they seem more patriotic. Choose Canada is the slogan. What can we learn? What should we learn as Jamaicans from that?
So I've always been told that those of us in the diaspora are more patriotic than those on the ground because we're not in the lived experience. And so this is an opportunity for Jamaicans to really coalesce around what is it that they pride themselves on as being Jamaican, and
Mm,
similarly for CARICOM countries. This is an opportunity to learn from the errors of cutting out manufacturing. Earlier, when I told you China cannot be beat, the reason China cannot be beat is
mm.
because they went to the forefront of manufacturing. They took over almost every aspect. So
Although the cheap labor part of it is a concern
yes,
under
yes,
some horrendous conditions, we are told.
yes, but they're a different country and they will take it. You understand? So what can we do on the islands is think about what are we good at? What can we ramp up really quickly? Because what Canadians, Americans, and everybody else is learning is it's not that easy to put up a factory tomorrow, and it's not that easy to start a stream. So now is the time to think about what is the stream you want to get into in terms of exports. What is the stream you want to get into, even in terms of subsistence? There's such a lack of subsistence farming. Like Jamaicans shouldn't be struggling to take chickens and so on. You should grow some, have a chicken coop in your backyard. There's so many aspects that we need to learn from quickly and ramp up quickly because, as I said, the longer this goes, the fallout will be felt in the CARICOM.
Yeah, but we have been having the campaigns, eat what you grow what you eat,
Yeah.
for many years. Is it that you are saying that from the feedback you're getting is that it's not being impactful?
It's not taking. It's not taking. Just you know how these campaigns go. Just like we used to say, no, dirty up Jamaica, and then you see people littering again. It's it's constant working on people for them to see their benefit, right? You have to see the benefit of this, and you have to see quickly for people to be sustained, right? In doing
Mm,
this work.
yeah. I suspect you might have the final word, Jonathan Bargan. Generally speaking, what can we learn? Should we learn from all that is taking place with the tariffs? What do we need to do more as a Caribbean?
Well, I would agree with the last point that we need to grow what we eat in every island in the Caribbean because things are this bad because Trump is getting ready to fight a war with China or prevent one by crashing the economy. So I think if it has to come down to going into asking every pastor to preach on the Book of Revelation and say the part where there's going to be famine, you need to have your own chicken. There's going to be a famine. And if it doesn't even have to be a nuclear war. If the Panama Canal and a few shipping lanes are shut down for a month, we are going to have a famine in the Caribbean. So we need to be. I would say the campaigns don't work because government campaigns actually most of them are annoying. It's like a billboard and a slogan. It needs to
Mm,
be an entire culture shift. So I think the church has a role to play. Like the Bible clearly says, "Hey, there's going to be a famine in the end times. That we are here." So um, everybody should religiously have their chickens and their cassava and their trees planted. It's gonna
mm.
come.
It's sounding like doom and gloom, though. I mean, are there not some rays of hope that we can look at going forward? Could all of this be work out in the end, the way Trump is seeing it?
So quickly I would say, as we can see, he's not necessarily making decisions from an overly strategic lens for the economy. He's making decisions from a strategic lens for him. So as soon as it is not beneficial to him and his friends, he will likely stop. As soon as Jonathan says the elections come around, he will likely pull back. But what we're also noticing is he's pulling
Wait,
back.
I'm so sorry, Dene, we have to pull back right now because we're totally out of time.
No problem.
I want to thank you both for joining us. Have a safe and productive day, ladies and gentlemen.
Take care.
Thank you.
Great. Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Open a deposit account in the JN Bank Savings Streams promotion and save monthly for a chance to win an all expenses paid trip to Peru. Enter now. The time by JN Bank Savings Streams promotion is
7:30.
When you say Fosrich, you say electrical, SWA cables, conduits, transformers, and breakers. When you say Fosrich, you say lighting, chandeliers, and more. When you say Fosrich, you say LEDs and solar water heaters. Fosrich is electrical, lighting, solar, and LEDs. Visit us today, Kingston, Manival, and Montego Bay. Fosrich.
CC Winans brings her More Than This tour to Jamaica, joined by Chevelle Franklin, Kevin Downswell, Prince Sar, Jean-Marc Wigan, MCs, IT, and Nadine Blair. Tickets are going fast. General 6,000, VIP 20,000, VIP 32,000. Limited time offer now. Get your tickets at select locations island-wide or online at sparopen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for more details. CC Winans, More Than This, King's House, East Lawns, Friday, August 1. Are you ready?
Don't let freshness ditch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing in the Observer. Speak up, don't tear down. Commissioner Blake urges rights groups to avoid vilification of police. Also, Kennedy wins Austin Celia Award as Jamaica top Carifta medal table. In the Gleaner, historic surgery. Andrews Memorial conducts first lumbar disc replacement in English-speaking Caribbean. In Loop News, teachers sound alarm over growing student unpreparedness in Jamaican schools. And then tragic news, 2 more road deaths over the Easter holiday. Wow. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll share some of the feedback from our social media question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how proud are you of your country? State the country and your reason. We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876 997 3125. We'll be right back.
Depending on where you research and what you consider a symbol, there are over 1,500 symbols in the Bible. Palm leaves, olive branches, and a dove are just 3 of them. Symbols of peace, joy, honor, hope, and the Holy Spirit. They all have multiple meanings and are used in many scenarios throughout the Bible. What are the stories behind their meanings and their value to us today? Do we give these symbols the respect and recognition that they deserve? What does the Bible say? Tuesday, April 22, on The Rock. Join guests Reverend Albert Martin and Marsha McDonald as they discuss the topic palm leaves, olive branches, and a dove. That's The Rock, Tuesday, April 22 at 10 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Have to be a man, got to be a man.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we will be focusing on God's Grace Part 2. God's grace signifies God's favor, kindness, and love bestowed upon humanity, offering forgiveness, salvation, and the means to live a righteous life. You are invited to hear the continuation of Mr. Paul Park's testimony from not being able to read after high school to guidance counselor, lecturer at GC Foster College, and published author. The mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, April 23 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station. Love 101, the mailbox, Monday.
So when they got man them there, the matty look and it's on them there. So I call you home.
The Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, in association with Donnie McClurkin Ministries and Allow to Shine Ministries, under the leadership of Nadine Blair, presents a Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship. The Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship will be held on Thursday, May 1, 5 p.m. for the Pastors Forum, 7 p.m. for the Evening of Worship, featuring Audience of One, the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God worship team, and Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Admission is free. Bring an offering. That's the Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship, presented by Donnie McClurkin. Don't miss this time of worship and fellowship. Thursday, May 1. See you there.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jukal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the highest. How proud are you of your country? State the country and your reason. Jukal.
All right, so Edna from Montego Bay sent a voice note. She just sent it in. But before that, let's go to Cherry. 10 out of 10. I'm very proud to be a Jamaican, and I thank God I'm Jamaican. There are things I may not like within the country or agree with, some things that are happening, but the reality is that is in every country that you were born in. There's so much value in and about this country. I love my country in spite of. Edna sent a voice note. Let's hear from her.
Morning, Wash. Good morning, Love 101 listeners and staff. My country is definitely Jamaica, 10 out of 10. Reason, he's my born land. This country is a paradise, whether we want to realize that or not. It's a paradise. We're not perfect, but it's my country and I love it. Love it.
All right, and those are the responses that we have so far.
All right, remind me, how much did Cherry give? Did she give a score?
10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
10 as well?
Yeah, Auntie Pam said 10 as well.
Okay, all right. Big up Jamaica, 10 out of 10. All right. As we segue to the second watch from last Saturday to yesterday, Trinidad and Tobago once again hosted the 52nd Carifta Athletics Games, bringing together the region's best young athletes in track and field. So, how was it for them? How was it for the spectators and the countries they represented? Well, to discuss this, we have joining us Olive McNaughton, Director of Jamaica Sports 876. And actually, Olive, I'm told, was in Trinidad for the track championships. And Dwayne Richards, sports commentator and CEO of Yardi Sports. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. I'm still in Trinidad. Greetings from beautiful Trinidad.
I don't hear no accent though, Olive.
No. Jamaica accent. We're not going anywhere, man. 100% Jamaican.
All right, okay.
Good morning to your listeners too.
Yes. And we hope to be rejoined by Dwayne Richards in short order. All right, Olive McNaughton, who is still in Trinidad. I want you to imagine, and I guess it is really so, that there are persons listening who perhaps don't know much about the Carifta games or may have forgotten. What really is the championship all about, and why is it such an important event?
Well, as you said, it's a 52nd Carifta Games. Mm-hmm. It was started years ago to foster integration of sports between the CARICOM at the time. Remember CARICOM? Carifta? This is one of the things that was part of the integration of CARICOM countries in the region. And it was mainly English-speaking Caribbean. That this year we have people like Haiti and Martinique, some other countries, no Cuba, But it is a point where Jamaica and several of the Caribbean countries, as you know, Jamaica dominated over the years. But this year, Toussaint and listeners, it was a very interesting character. The Trinidadian supporters came out. Grenada, Bahamas, Barbados. It was just a joy to be in the stand to see the countries, the drums, the beat, the noise, the support. These guys came out to support. Unfortunately, the country that was supported the least is, I would say, is Jamaica.
What?
But yes, we didn't have a Jamaica supporters group, you know, but it was the Trinidadians was out support the flags. They have a Trinidad supporters group, but the competition was great. I've been to a few Cariftas, and I'm telling you, this was the most competitive Carifta. It is great to see and I think this is part of the integration with, you know, several of the schools, countries have persons in Jamaica competing for the Calabars, the KCs, the Jagos, all of those schools. But the competition was absolutely very good. Jamaica, of course, topped the medal count with 78 medals. But Bahamas was at one point just 3 medals in terms of gold medals. So you can see that the competition, Jamaica, I was saying, should stop going Carifta because we were so dominant.
Usually.
But it was an excellent competition.
You mentioned the support being less than the other years. Any idea why that was so from the Jamaican perspective?
Well, as Jamaica hosted Carifta around 3 years, and even in our national stadium, we don't have Jamaicans coming out to support junior.
What do you think is behind that, Olive McNaughton? What's behind that? That's a phenomenon I didn't know about.
You didn't, well, at Carifta 2 years ago, Bahamas took a plane. They had their big drums and turbo and thing. This is something that Jamaicans like international track and field. We like Olympics and see our senior athletes. We like champs. But to come out and support our juniors and even the athletes themselves, Toussaint, it's unfortunate. But the athletes, as you saw in one particular event, the athletes themselves preparing for pen relays. So what we see here is that even though you have Jamaicans here, you did not have that brand presence. Because as you know, I go to the major events and I ensure that we have out there with Jamaicans with our breath. But it's something that Jamaicans need to look at. Trinidad, I was talking to one of the coaches, they support their junior programs. Bahamas have a strong groomer program. And so even though we are dominant, we take it for granted. I think we take it for granted that our athletes will just go out there. But one of the things that came out clearly is that even in the 100s and the 200s, Jamaica only won the Sabrina Dockery. Douglas was excellent, winning the 1, the 2, the 4x1, and the 4x4. I'm saying that Jamaica didn't, and Stevenson won the under 20, dominated. But for the under 17, the other countries, St. Lucia won the girls 100 meters. Bahamas won the 100s. So we're seeing that the other countries, the under 17 was more dominant with the smaller islands, whereas Jamaica kept up in the under 20.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing that we need to look at as a country, how we support our junior athletes at Carifta.
Okay.
And even,
Yeah, we're up on a break. We're going to be drilling down even more into this on the next half of the program.
elevate every moment naturally with Chaland Wines, the exquisite non-alcohol sparkling wines from France. Chaland non-alcohol wines deliver elegance in every sip. Perfect for toasting at any gathering. Everyone can join in, from grown-ups to the little ones. With a range of flavors, Chaland Wines add a touch of style to every occasion. Find them at all leading supermarkets and wholesales island-wide. Pop the cork on a natural kind of celebration. Chaland Wines, distributed by Harbor Wines and Spirits, a division of Grace Kennedy Limited.
Empower your future today with international and regional certification. Register now at the Distinction College, now opening a satellite school in Montego Bay. Start online and face-to-face classes in CSEC, Cape and City and Gills, Math and English, Practical, Geriatric, Pediatric, and Mental Health Nursing. Call center, AC, Plumbing, Electrical, Housekeeping, Food Prep, Waitering, Bartending, Pharmacy and Phlebotomy Tech, Business Administration, Front Desk Clerk, Supervisory, HR Project and Business Management, Customer Service, Early Childhood and Child Care, and much more. No subjects required, no age limits. Register this week and win a subject or course for free. Visit us at Dome Street, Montego Bay, or call 876-545-3782.
Attention, Jamaica. Fenty Beauty has arrived. Now available exclusively at Fontana Waterloo and Fontana Montego Bay. Join us in store to find your perfect foundation and skincare routine with Fenty Beauty and Fenty Skin today.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And this is the second watch. We are reviewing the 52nd Carifta Track and Field Championships. In so doing, we now have online fully Dwayne Richards, sports commentator and CEO of Yardi Sports, and Olive McNaughton, Director of Jamaica Sports 876. Welcome to you as well, Dwayne Richards.
Good morning, Dylan, and good morning, Olive. How are you doing?
Good morning, sir. I'm good. Greetings from Trinidad.
You're not in Trinidad, Dwayne?
No, I'm not. I'm here on local soil.
You're here in Jamrock. All right. What are your thoughts on the recently held Carifta Games?
I thought it was a good showing. I thought, from my perspective, what I saw, that Trinidad were good hosts, and we saw a lot of athletes from across the Caribbean doing pretty well for themselves. A number of them who represent high schools here in Jamaica went to represent their country. They would have benefited from being at champs, and they went and did well for themselves and for their country. So it continues to show that champs continues to have a big impact on the region from that perspective, where athletes from all over the Caribbean come here, hone their skills, and then they go on to represent their country. So it shows that we are the leaders in track and field in the region in more ways than one.
Yeah. When you're not on air a while ago, Dwayne Richards, I think I recall Olive McNaughton lamenting, in essence, that the support, visible support from the Jamaicans was not there as she would have liked. And even when it's held in Jamaica, it's the same thing. Your take on that? Why do you think that is so?
Well, the last time it was held here, I thought we had pretty good support for the athletes.
Yardi, remember,
went to fill the...
Hold on there, Olive. Let him finish and then he respond. All right. Yes, Dwayne, go ahead.
Carifta isn't going to fill the stadium as much as champs is, because we have to understand that people go to champs because of a very personal attachment, either to their schools or to the athletes who are representing, whether it's the auntie, the uncle, the cousin, supporting the athletes who are there on the track. So you're always going to have that big support for champs, but it will not go all the way down to the other meets, because people do not have that vested interest as much in the others. But that being said, I think we got a fairly good turnout the last time it was held here, and we have to set reasonable expectations. Carifta will not have the same kind of support, because we just don't see it in the same way, in the same light.
Why is that? I'm getting from her that the other countries that playing load of persons.
Because our premium event is champs. That's what it is. the reality is our premium event is champs. Carifta is anecdotal compared to
Oh,
champs. And
okay.
and even though we go to Carifta in other territories and we dominate and we beat them up, and we're proud of that. The fact is, for the other countries in the region, they don't have a champs. Carifta is what
Kharkiv is
it
a big
is
deal
for
for them.
them. So yeah, so they
Okay.
pitch everything into that basket and they go after it as hard as they can, and they get to compete against us because that's what it is. It's them competing against us. All of them are competing against us because we always win. We've been winning since the 70s. So that is something that they're focused on. They want to compete against us. When they look at the international events, Jamaica does well against the heavy hitters. So we are the ones that they compare themselves to. So for them,
Interesting.
it's a massive thing, but we don't pay the same attention to it. For example, very few athletes from Heidel went to Carifta because the focus for them was winning champs, and then we'll see those athletes performing
Pen relays.
in the pen relays because that's
Mhm.
where they chose to focus. Because for
Mhm.
them, Carifta wasn't the main thing. And that is the reality of the situation. We would like it to be different, but the reality is that different schools have different objectives. And some coaches may see going to pens as a bigger opportunity for their athletes to score scholarships to
That
universities
and
overseas. So they set
Carifta games.
objectives accordingly.
Okay. Mm. Okay. Olive McNaughton, I gather you wanted to come in. You still do?
What I was saying to Yardi is that in Carifta 2 years ago when Jamaica hosted, it was the KC band. After we saw Bahamas with their drums and thing, it was the principal from KC who got out their band to come and at least make we
Represent
have
Jamaica.
represent Jamaica a little bit. I don't know if you already remember that, but that's what that is what happened, because it looked bad that Bahamas was out playing us out making noise, and we were just there quietly in the stands. But the drums from KC came out and they branded them in the Jamaican colors. But
Yes.
as I said, it's just something that we need to look at as a country. And as I said, they have a strong supporters group in Trinidad. They were selling shirts. I don't know if you saw the colors of the flags. All the Trinidadians were out there with their
Red
win,
and
lose,
black.
or draw. They were supporting their athletes,
Yes.
and we just take it for granted because we are dominant.
You had
And
mentioned Olive McNaughton, 78 medals. How does that square with the other years?
I was talking to I made contact with the technical manager. I know we have gone as far as, I think, 90 medals. So 78 is a good show. But the other countries, the medal count for the other countries came up very well, in the sense that 78, I think this would be probably around our fifth best showing, because we have gone as much as 90, because in years we were just 1-2 in the 400. We didn't score in the 400 men. In the sprints, Jamaica usually dominate all the sprints, but it did not happen this year at all. With the under 20
Countries have
men,
shown up.
yep, we got 10 gold medals in the men under 20, and in the female 9, but only 5 gold medals in the under 17 and the under male and female. So it shows that the other Caribbean countries are definitely working on their youth program, and it is only goes well for our Caribbean presence at the international level.
Yeah. Dwayne Richards, what were the highlights for you? Who were the standouts for you?
The Celia Award winner.
Yes.
We after champs, you would have expected it because he was very, very dominant during the course of the season. That's Kennedy. So we expected it after his performances at champs, and all of his throws. It's remarkable. A lot of people do not know this, but on the discus, all of his throws from the very first one broke the record.
Wow.
His entire sequence was further than the
That's
record
phenomenal.
going into the championship. So Kamari Kennedy
Yeah.
The Austin Sealy Award winner, 2 gold medals, 2 records. Some
Yeah.
people don't understand why it is that people who got 4 medals didn't get it, but the
2
Austin
gold
Sealy
medal.
Award is about individual performance, and so relays don't factor. And he broke both records on his way to winning
And
the
we had some
awards.
other records broken by
Yeah,
Jamaicans.
we had the records in the
Shaquille Gordon.
Shaquille Gordon
Yes.
in the 110-meter hurdles. In
Yeah.
fact, both him and Daniel Clark went under the record in the final. So that was another outstanding performance there in that.
13.19 seconds and 13.21 seconds, I'm seeing.
Yes,
Yeah.
another good,
110
another
meter
record.
hurdles. Mhm.
Yeah, another record is Marla K. Campart, 1744 in the shot put, breaking our national record. That was also actually a significant in the shot put, guys.
Mhm.
That was a good performance by the young lady from Clarendon College,
Yeah.
and something that we need to. Was talking to the coach for the field events. They medal in every one of the field events, Jamaica. And as I said, Kamari Kennedy has been showing his from champs. He was
Yeah.
breaking the national record, both in the discus and shot put. Is not you have a Travis or a Dakers over the years. They would perform well in the discus, but not so well in the shot put. But he broke both records, and it was just great to see that a field event competitor got the Austin Sealy Award. That is significant.
Yeah, I
Because
wanted to talk about that. The field vis-a-vis the track. Where did Jamaica shine more?
I need to go through the entire results, but what I
No
can
man,
say is,
yeah.
as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, is that
Sorry.
the field events we did very, very well. For example, on Sunday we got first and second in the long jump. The boys under 17 long jump, and both athletes produced their best jumps on the final effort. Michael Graham, who got second, he was in 4th position, leading into his last jump. He jumped and took over the lead. And then after he took over the lead, he bumped out a Trinidad and who was left very disappointed. And then on his final jump, Amani Phillips, he went back to the lead from second to
Mhm.
first, and we got
Mhm.
first and second. And so when you look at what we've done, Michael Andre Edwards from Jamaica College, he's had a fantastic season. He dominated from the development meets all the way through to champs, and he won a gold medal there at the Carifta Games. So you wouldn't be surprised by that type of performance. So we have done tremendously well over the years, over the last few years in the field events. It reflected in what we did in Paris. And I think it's time, it's really, really time for Jamaica to start paying attention to what we're doing in the field and start to support the field events a lot more, start shining light on it, start giving the coaches who are developing
yes,
these athletes
yes.
more support in
Yeah.
terms of equipment, especially
Something good is happening with the
because
field events, man.
the equipment is very expensive, and I think that the coaches need to be supported in that way, and administration needs to provide them with more support that way so that they
True.
can continue to train the athletes and to develop the athletes so they can continue to shine on the international stage, because what we're doing now is proof that we are there. It's
Yeah.
something I've been speaking about for years, and it's manifesting itself now.
Yeah.
And it's
Let me just
clear and obvious to everybody who wasn't paying attention that, yes, the field events have arrived. We are right there on par. The girls under 20 high jump, the 2 young ladies got first and second. They jumped for
Chavez
Woolman's
Penn.
from Chavez Penn.
Chavez
He's a
Penn
phenomenal
won.
athlete. He's a phenomenal
Oh,
athlete.
yep. High
He
jump
won
and
the
triple
high
jump.
jump. We got
And
second in the high jump as well. So we need to really pay attention to the field in Jamaica. We need to give the support there.
yes.
We need to support our field events meets a lot more, and just recognize that it's track and field, and we are there on par now. It's not just about the 100-meter and the 200-meter. Our field events have risen to the level where they must now be given some amount of attention.
Okay. I wanted to get back at Oliver McNaughton, but we are totally out of time. Want to thank you both for joining us, and safe flight back, Olive, to
I'm happy to
Jamrock.
be.
Thank
I'm
you
just
very
sorry that
much.
I got in so
Any
late. Safe flight back, Olive, and thanks for representing us as
I'm
usual.
heading to Penn Relays.
Oh,
Heading to Penn.
okay. Like a lot of other schools.
Flight.
Yeah, a lot of the other schools are doing the same.
Yeah, man. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you very
listeners,
much
for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information or get copies of this program, call the production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guest. I'm Dylan Toussaint, returning you to Love in the Morning with Jokal Daya.
At the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we are committed to the values of care, compassion, excellence in service, integrity, teamwork, and innovation as we work to safeguard the health of our nation. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is
8 a.m. and you are now invited to listen to